Hello everyone, Pulse here and welcome to another episode of Delving Deep ESO. Now in this episode we're going to talk about something that I find is really exciting, and that is the endgame content in Elder Scrolls Online. So we've had the game for a bit, for example. You've gone on many an epic quest and you finally reached that pretty substantial level cap of 50. What else is there for you to do beyond PvPing all day in Cyrodiil? Well, actually there is quite a lot to do. First is the veteran leveling content, or the 50 plus and 50 plus plus zones, as ZeniMax has often called it before. Basically, once you've done the main faction storyline and hit the level 50 cap, you will then have the ability to travel to the other faction areas and experience the zones, the quests and the story, all that stuff hidden within. But it's going to be scaled up to the veteran level, so it's not going to be easy. And then once you've tackled that one and gone to the third faction story, you'll then be in that 50 plus plus veteran content, and it will be quite difficult to tackle. Now, say you're not into questing, you really do not feel like slugging through more questing, you're just not into it. What about dungeons then, or more specifically veteran dungeons? Now, similar to MMOs, ESO is going to have a fair number of dungeons, which will also have a post-50 hardcore mode, which will give better loot, more tough experiences, more tough encounters and fights, and more importantly, new areas and new storylines to experience and explore within the dungeons. So basically, you're going to get yourself and 3 of your best buds, or random pugs if you're into that kind of thing, and go tackle these veteran dungeons, and they're going to be the small group but challenging content in ESO. Now, we've known about both of these for a while. We've known about the 50 plus leveling and the veteran dungeons for a long while now, but we've also known about adventure zones for a long time, and we finally got some information that describes what they are actually going to be. In fact, ZeniMax did a pretty good job in their little write-up, so I'm going to take directly from the article. So to quote, the first ESO adventure zone is called Craglorn, a zone that is situated between Hammerfell and Cyrodiil. All content in Craglorn is built for a group of 4. The story revolves around a mysterious removal of the constellations from the sky, so the warrior, the thief, the mage, and the serpent all play a part in unraveling the mystery of Craglorn. Now imagine a zone similar in setup to a standard PvE zone, but tuned for a group of 4. Follow a story or just go explore. Delves are instant to your group, and these are the interior spaces where you'll always find a boss and sky shard. There are events similar in mechanics to Dark Anchors, but with different fiction attached, and also far more difficult. There are also story areas that are very similar to large dungeons, but each has a quest guiding you through them. These can be replayed as much as you'd like. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are lots of little events, a full storyline and quests, more crafting opportunities, and entries into the Trials, our large group veteran PvE content. So basically, ZeniMax is doing exactly what I thought they would do by labeling this as adventure zones. A long time back now, I speculated that they would make adventure zones this story-driven area with numerous world bosses, dynamic events, and it would be tuned for a small group. And sure enough, that's what we're getting. We're getting the Elder Scrolls version of that very idea. Now, to me, adventure zones are an obvious attempt to provide a co-op test experience inside the MMO space in a way that actually fits with what test fans have wanted since the beginning, where you can go on a Elder Scrolls adventure with you and a buddy or you and a small group. To me, this is exactly what we're going to get with adventure zones, or at least that is the intention with it. So I really hope that it lives up to that lofty expectation, because I know that a good number of people coming from prior test games really wanted a co-op test experience that is unlike the MMO that we are actually going to be playing. So maybe adventure zones are going to be able to fill that need for those kinds of players. Now at this point you may be yelling at me, saying that you've glossed over the most important part of that whole paragraph. What in the hell are Trials, Pulse? Well, don't worry friends, I did not forget. In fact, I deliberately saved them for the end, because to me, this is best for last. Large group PvE, the life force behind an MMO and its sustainability in today's fantasy MMO RPG market, and it's arguably the most important part of the whole game, and that is the large group PvE known as Trials. Now, Trials are going to be 12-player dungeon experiences that are going to get tougher and tougher as you progress through them. aka raids. Now, there are some interesting implementations going on with trials which we cannot overlook. The first of which is the inclusion of a leaderboard system, which is going to really give a nice experience for the people that are into a competitive PvE crowd. It's going to provide something for them to watch instead of having to go to third-party sites. Because, to be honest, MMO PvE content is, even though it's not as competitive as PvP, I'd say, there's always this kind of race for the first world kill or that kind of thing, and the best of the best raiders in these PvP group or PvE groups rather, they push themselves to the point of like near starvation or sleep depraved, and they go crazy. They'll raid for hours and hours and hours to try and get these world first kills and get some internet acclaim, and some of them, they have sponsors and things like that. So it's really cool that ZeniMax has integrated a leaderboard system right into the game that really just supports and promotes the competitive nature that already surrounds large group PvE. Now, secondly, and to me, the way more important part mentioned in this article about the trials, that is the soul reservoir, which is literally going to translate into limited resurrections per trial. If you run out of them, you must start from the very beginning. Now, at first, I will admit I was a little bit confused by this. Why did they go this direction? Why are they doing something so different here? But after a little bit of thinking about it, really, it came to me that this is actually going to add a layer of strategy and thought behind how you tackle encounters, instead of just making it so you take advantage of the soul gem kind of implementation in the game by stocking up beforehand. Sure, they could have gone a different direction and made it very, very traditional and just made so in-combat resurrections were impossible while fighting bosses, that kind of thing. But this is far more interesting as far as I'm concerned. So just for example, say I get me into a trial and I go in with my 11 guildies and we're tackling the bosses and the encounters within, and we tackle the first 2 main bosses without problem, but we hit a wall on the 3rd. Now, do we continuously revive throughout the encounter in order to beat the fight, or do we take it slow in order to actually learn the mechanics and then blitz through the encounter once we know how to handle it, and that way we don't kind of burn through so many souls? Or maybe we do the vice versa. We come very close to victory and a mishap occurs and we have to use a revival. Well, do we use that revival and make it that we'll have to start the trial over if we fail, or do we take that risk and beat the boss? It's kind of this really cool mechanic where you have to be thoughtful about resurrections, where normally it's just, oh, we're going to fail, let's wipe and start over. That's not something that you can do in ESO. You have to be a little bit more thoughtful about how you play and how you die, which is really, really cool, because death in MMOs has been so boring. I think that's really why I'm excited. This is just a new spin on how to do it. Now, obviously, all the excitement in the world on my end isn't going to make it balanced or make sure that the system works at all. So I'm going to make sure to make it very clear that I'm not going to pass judgment on this until I actually play one. But for now, label me pretty excited. Now, before I go, there is one last thing to mention about endgame content, and that is that the adventure zones and trials, which we've just talked about, will not be in ESO upon release. Veteran leveling and veteran dungeons are going to be available straight away, but not adventure zones or the large group PvE trial content. 1 month. That is all they have in my book in order to release this. That way, I mean, if they go beyond 1 month, to be honest, they're going to miss their chance to really show what they can do for in-game to a large enough crowd in a way that's going to convince people to continue paying their sub fee. If they go longer than that, they risk destroying their longevity as a pay-to-play title. They really do. I absolutely believe that their intentions are good and that their post-release content schedule is probably really grand and probably going to be really good if they're able to succeed in that. But time is of the essence. The moment that early access kicks off in just a couple days, March 31st, 2014. So all I have to say to ZeniMax is don't miss the opportunity. Don't F it up. That's really all I have to say. You have a very small window to get this correct, and if you don't do it, you're going to have another Star Wars: The Old Republic kind of situation. And even still, the risk is there for that to happen even if you get these in the game. So just put those in the game as soon as possible, but do make sure that they are good. For goodness sake, I know it's like you can't play both sides of the field, but in this case you really have to. They have to do it right and they have to do it soon, or else this game is gonna flop. It's easy as that. I'm very, very excited, and that's mostly why I'm being very hard on the fact that this isn't gonna be in the game right away, because MMO players, especially those that are in a situation where they are very experienced in their leveling and how to tackle a game very efficiently, they are going to burn through all of it. The 50 plus, the 50 plus plus, they're going to gear through veteran dungeons in less than a month, easy. I give 2 weeks for the really fast ones, honestly, if not less than that. So they really need to be on the wall. But I think that's going to wrap it up for me on this one. As always, let me know what you guys think about everything discussed today, including your opinion on adventure zones and trials down below. As always, let me know what you're thinking. I'm pretty excited, but are you guys impressed, disgusted, somewhere in between? Let me know. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and as always, make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, share with your friends, and thanks again for watching. I will see you on the next one. Bye.